The first reading we listened to was given to me by Father Justin when he wanted me to give a brief reflection. I did ask him, do you have any passage in mind that you would like us to use? And he said 2 Chronicles, that very passage we used. And when I read the passage, let me repeat the verse that really struck a chord with me. It is 2 Chronicles chapter 29, 1 to 11. And it is the last verse actually that struck a chord in me. Verse 11 says, "My sons, do not be negligent." Thank you, Father. "My sons, do not be negligent, for the Lord has chosen you to stand in His presence to minister to Him, and to be His ministers and make offerings to Him." I feel this is directed to us priests. It says, do not be negligent, for God has chosen you to stand in His presence and minister to Him and to make offerings to Him. Because it took my mind back to the actual Hebrew word for priest, kohen, coming from the Hebrew verb kahan, meaning to stand in the presence of. A synonymous are madly, to stand in the presence of. So a priest is someone who has been chosen to stand constantly in the presence of God, to minister before God, to offer incense and to offer whatever on behalf of the people. That's a priest. It is related to the Arabic kahin, which is a soothsayer, a prophet, someone who foretells the future. And it is the same kind of thing that Israel is told in Exodus 19:6. "I have chosen you to become a kingdom of priests, a holy nation." And that's what Peter says in 1 Peter 2:9. He says, kingdom of priests, holy nation. So that's what we are called to be. We are a people called, if you like, separated, set apart. And this setting apart means there are a lot of things we can no longer be fully part of. And that's why in Canon 287, the church tells us we cannot go into partisan politics because we have been set apart. You know, sometimes some priests have left the priesthood to go into politics, and they will tell us they want to do it better. And if you go into those people who have gone in, you will see whether they did it better or not. In Paraguay, a priest went into politics and won and became president. I'm not sure how better he did it. In Haiti, Father Aristide, I don't know how better he did it. When Adasu Moses said he was going into politics, he said he was going to baptize politics. But in the end, we don't know whether it was him who baptized politics or politics that baptized him. There is another governor now in Benue State who is a priest. So we are plainly told that it is not our field. We can act on behalf of justice. We can see that justice is done and proper things are done, but going properly into politics is not our field, clearly stated in the canon law. It is the same thing with family life. We are no longer fully part of the family. And some still go to the back door to have children and all that. That's equally condemned. It is the same thing with inheritance. As Sister was saying, that 4 brothers were dividing land and the priest said, you must give me mine. But but it's clearly stated in our Bible. Maybe I can take a few of them and read to us. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 10, 8 to 9, it is clearly stated there that because you have been called, you have been chosen to serve at the altar. Let me see if I find Deuteronomy chapter 10. And in case anybody is with Bible, please, so that I will not be looking for these passages. Somebody else can read for us when I'm done with Deuteronomy 10. Somebody can read for us Deuteronomy 18, 1 to 5. And if another person has Bible, please help us read Numbers 18, 8 to 9. And the 10 I mentioned says, therefore Levi has no, let me begin from verse 8. At that time the Lord set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord, to minister to him, and to bless in his name to this day. Therefore, Levi has no allotment or inheritance with his kindred. The Lord is his own inheritance. Clearly stated. My friend, would you mind reading Deuteronomy 18, 1 to 5? It is along the same line. And someone else can read for us Joshua 13, 14. All these passages are places where it is clearly stated that because you are Aaron, because you are a priest, or because you are a Levi, you are not entitled to any inheritance. In my family, we are 5 boys and 2 females. My father, before he died, he called us, said, I would like to Ikekbe. Then he told me, this land over there, I said, I'm father now, don't give me any. So my brothers were happy to hear that, and he shared everything. You can read that for us, Father. Deuteronomy 8, you can take 18, 1 to 5.
Deuteronomy 18, 1 to 5. The Levitical priests, the whole tribe of Levi, shall have no allotment or inheritance within Israel. They may eat the sacrifices that are the Lord's portion, but they shall have no inheritance among the other members of the community. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. These shall be the priest's due from the people, from those offering a sacrifice, whether an ox or a sheep. They shall give to the priest the shoulder, the 2 jaws, and the stomach, the first fruits of your grain, your wine, and your oil, as well as the first of the fleece of your sheep, you shall give him. For the Lord your God has chosen Levi out of all your tribes to stand and minister in the name of the Lord, he and his sons for all time.
Thank you very much, Father. So those two passages we have listened to are addressed to the Levites. Now this one, Numbers 18, 19 to 20, addressed to Aaron. The Lord said to Aaron, you shall have no allotment in their midst among them. I am your share, your own possession among the Israelites. So inheritance is not for us. It's the same thing in Joshua 13, 14. The same thing is stated there clearly, that these inheritance are not for us. The inheriting land, inheriting landed property, and that's why we are set apart. We are not to take active part in those areas anymore. And it's the same thing. The way my image of this being a priest is, my image of it is like this altar cloth. This altar cloth is set apart for special reason, for worship. It will be so awkward for me to carry this altar cloth and spread it on the dining table, to be like desecrating that altar cloth. It is like, sacred vessels that we use at Mass. It was said that Nebuchadnezzar went into the temple and carried those sacred vessels to drink at home. And you know better than me the consequences of that. So because they are the things set apart. It is the same thing with sacred linens. I cannot use them anyhow. Sacred vessels, sacred vestments, the chasuble the stool that we use. As sister was talking about abusing them. Somebody comes, you place a stool or a chasuble, or you carry blessing sacrament. There was a time a priest of my congregation danced with the blessing sacrament in the market. And the thing went viral. I don't know whether some of you saw it. I was still serving as superior then. So when somebody brought it to me, said, "This is your priest too," and I became afraid how to handle it. I first of all went to Onayeko, our ordinary. I said to him, "Your Eminence, I don't know if you heard about what happened in Onitsha." It was here in Onitsha it happened. So he said, "What?" He said, "Yes, Auxiliary Bishop showed it to me." So, "What are you planning to do?" I said, "Your Eminence, that's why I came for your advice." He said, "Well, caution him now. It is not good, but it's not a terrible thing, but caution the priest." I said, "Thank you, Your Eminence." And then I went to the nuncio and asked the nuncio, "Did you hear about this?" The nuncio said, "I did it." I showed him. He said, "So, Your Excellency, what do I do?" He said, "Father, caution him." The same word that His Eminence. So I called the priest in question, asking him, "Father, why now? Why did you do this? Please, 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 go to the bishop and say you are sorry. Please, this is abuse of spiritual things." So we are set apart, and these things are set apart. They are not to be used anyhow, and that's the way I look at us as priests, that we are people set apart. The same thing in marriage, the same thing in politics, the same thing in various other aspects of life. That I remember, somewhere, somebody drove rough in front of me and then began to insult me on top of it, and I exchanged a nasty word. Then my mother, that's what she told me, and that struck me. I said, "She's saying the truth." So we need to know that we have been set apart and act accordingly, like people who have been set apart, consecrated, and so we're no longer available for any type of. It's like a temple. When you dedicate a temple, I remember attending dedication ceremony in one of the parishes in my town, St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Bubu. It was Bishop Esokafu who conducted the dedication ceremony. Towards the end of the Mass, he said, "This church is now dedicated to God. It is no longer available for any type of use." That struck a chord in me. That's the way I see us priests. We've been dedicated, set apart. And so we are no longer available for any type of use. We are no longer available except to stand constantly in God's presence and minister to Him and offer Him sacrifice. That's our portion, that's our inheritance. And so, I think, brothers and sisters, that it is along that line that this reading read to us should equally make some sense for us. That Hezekiah was one of those appointed to serve. And what is stated here is that he served, doing God's mind all through. We need to borrow a leaf from Hezekiah. We need to borrow a leaf from those people who stuck to their faith, stuck to their vocation, being faithful to the vocation we have chosen. And if by any means we have faltered, we should take consolation from that gospel passage read to us. The woman caught in adultery, condemned, and Jesus came along and began to write on the floor. And then after writing, he looked up and said to the woman, "Has anyone condemned you?" "No one, sir." And Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go in peace." There was an exegete who was interpreting that text, and he said something like this. He said that in Roman law, that the judges write down their sentence and they read it out. That's the kind of thing Jesus practiced. That Jesus wrote, "Neither do I condemn you." He didn't condemn the woman and read the verdict when he made a statement. So that's the kind of thing Jesus does with us. When we come before him repenting, he writes his sentence, and his sentence is, "I don't condemn you." He is not condemning any of us. He has opened door insofar as we come back to him with remorseful hearts, with repentance. May God bless his words in our hearts through Christ our Lord.